it's unique and different. And so it's important that we work with the dam owner and the community and all the stakeholders to create that menu of factors that are important to all of us, and then weigh the pros and cons during the decision-making phase as to what to do with this dam.
As Michigan's dams age, figuring out the best way forward is a team effort.
The collaboration of federal, state, tribal, local, and private entities is crucial to the success of a dam removal effort.
Kim Balke is with the Conservation Resource Alliance. Their mission is river restoration throughout Northwest Michigan. When it comes to dams, they provide information to dam owners through the decision-making process.
And then if they decide to remove the dam, we fill that project manager role in collaborating with partners, helping with the fundraising, in coordinating, the design, permitting, construction, post-monitoring, all of those phases.
We met Kim at the Baldwin River Dam, not far from downtown. It's seen its share of destructive flooding, including 2010, 2011, and 2019. The dam is currently going through the multi-year-long process of being removed and will end up reconnecting 12 miles of main stem river.
So Baldwin Dam started out in the 1800s, supporting a sawmill and a grist mill. It was transformed into a water source for the nearby railroad. And in the 20s, it became a trout rearing facility. So it was in state ownership as that facility for a good 50 years or more. And fast forward to today, it's in private ownership. The structure is not being used anymore for its original purpose. And the current owner would like to, restore the river here and not have the risk and liability associated with all of this infrastructure. The owner of the dam contacted CRA upon purchasing the site and asked if we would assist with the removal and restoration.
There are anywhere from 2,500 to 3,000 dams in Michigan. Some are owned by the state, and some are privately owned. Every single one of them requires maintenance and repairs over their lifetime, and that adds up.
Dams are just a huge issue. They're in the news, I feel like, almost daily these days. Probably the biggest issue with dams is the fact that repairs to dams are incredibly costly, and the question often comes down to who will pay for the repairs to a dam if indeed it is going to be repaired.
Mark Tonello is with the Michigan DNR Fisheries Division. He's seen the damage and destruction caused by dam breaks and failures firsthand.
From a fishery standpoint, obviously fish kills, habitat damage, but from a human standpoint, it can involve loss of life, damage to public infrastructure like roads and bridges and road crossings, and then private infrastructure like homes and yards and outbuildings and all those kinds of things.
Now, to understand why dam failures can be so devastating is to understand the purpose and flow of water.
One of the primary functions of a river is to move sediment downstream. That's what they do. That's what they've been doing in Michigan since the glaciers receded. When you build a dam in a stream, it blocks that function. And that impoundment essentially acts as a sediment trap where the sediment falls out and settles on the bottom of the impoundment and does not pass downstream. Especially when there's a catastrophic dam failure, that's when the sediment can be released. And this is 100 years of sediment piled up behind a dam, released all of a sudden at once, can be an utter catastrophe.
The impoundment is the lake that's created by the dam. With the sediment having nowhere to go, it builds up. Dams also block the passage of fish and warm the river, making it harder for some species to survive. But some dams today do serve an important purpose in helping control the spread of sea lamprey.
If they did not do that, the fishery that we know and love in Lake Michigan, the salmon, the lake trout, the steelhead, that would disappear very quickly. And so a dam that blocks sea lamprey is one that we've got to have some extra discussions about before we just yank it out. So we do like to look at every dam on a case-by-case basis and look at the pros, look at the cons, and a lot of times the discussion comes back to, okay, keeping the dam would cost so much, removing the dam would cost less, and then if you keep the dam, you're going to have to pay in the future for even more maintenance. So a lot of times the discussion for maintenance versus removal comes down to economics.
Dams can break and fail. In 2020, the Edenville Dam and then the Sanford Dam suffered catastrophic fail after record-breaking rain. The destruction was swift. A massive surge of water drained from Wixom Lake, displacing thousands and causing hundreds of millions of dollars in damage. Dams that meet a certain height requirement are inspected by the Michigan Department of Environmental, Great Lakes, and Energy. In recent years, they've increased staff to handle inspections and safety plans. But it wasn't always that way.
In about 2019, there was me. I was the only one in the program. So when you're stretched that thin, you're really focused on making sure that the inspections are done, that permits are getting issued for repair of dams, but then your ability to do compliance and enforcement is limited to only the most severe cases, the most urgent. So you're doing a lot of triaging, like this can wait, this can't wait. Now we're up to 8 people in the unit. So we have much more staff, and then we have more frequent communication with owners. We're being more proactive with outreach and education, things like that. So we have, since the Edenville failure in 2020, we have staffed up and increased the size of the program. So we are much better off in terms of being able to stay on top of all of our day-to-day duties, but then also devote more time to compliance and enforcement. We are much more proactive at trying to get ahead of emergencies and encouraging dam owners to take necessary action before we have a potential dam failure on our hands.
The aftermath of the Edenville Dam failure also changed how Eagle prioritizes dam safety.
I think what we've done is using a more risk-informed decision-making process, which is we need to understand the risk at every dam. Risk is kind of a combination of what are the consequences of failure if it were to fail, but what is the likelihood of that failure? So if we understand that this dam both has a high likelihood of failure and a high risk or a high consequence if it does fail, that's one of our riskiest dams. We need to devote resources, spend more time with that dam owner, identify funding potential.
Whether an existing dam remains or is removed, it all boils down to money. Who's going to pay for it, especially with costs usually well into the millions?
The reality is that we are receiving a lot more applications for dam removal. It's not very easy. So there's a lot of environmental considerations and costs associated. So I would say that nothing, rehabilitation or construction or removal of dam, none of them are relatively easy. The difference being dam removal typically has more public assistance available. There are grant opportunities for dam removal, stream restoration, habitat restoration from the federal government, from the state. So I think that it comes down to an economic decision a lot of times for dam owners is, hey, the folks around the pond really want to keep the dam. We've got a cost estimate from our engineer to rehabilitate and bring the dam into modern safety standards. That cost is very high. The cost of removal is also very high, but we can get the majority of that cost covered through grants. That becomes the path forward.
For those living on or thinking about buying waterfront property, knowing if it's controlled by a dam matters. Both Eagle and DNR are able to help buyers learn about nearby dams before purchase. You just need to reach out.
Most of the time when folks buy property on an impoundment, there's no guarantee that the impoundment is always going to be there. And so that is a risk you take if you purchase quote unquote waterfront property on an impoundment. You know, that is can be a risk. The problem with maintaining dams is it's a gift that keeps on giving. And so if you're gonna maintain it, that's fine. It's not a one-time cost. You gotta pay now, and then you gotta pay again the next time it needs repairs. They may see their property values decline if the impoundment goes away. On the other hand, they might have streamfront property, which is valuable as well. It depends on the property ownership of the impoundment, who owns what.
Change can be a challenge. In Baldwin, the years-long project to remove the old dam continues. Kim tells us the decision to remove dams is one that's never taken lightly, but she's seen the rewards for herself.
So the most common questions we get from people with dam removal is, what are we going to do with all the sediment in the impoundment? What will the downstream impacts be? of having a river actively flowing again. What will public access and use look like? And where is the river going to be? Where is it going to flow throughout that impoundment? It's rewarding to see a sediment-laden warm water impoundment be returned, to the river or creek that it originally was. We are reconnecting miles upstream to miles downstream. We're managing that sediment, moving it around to daylight, the creek or the river. It's rewarding to see fish and wildlife and aquatic insects, come back and inhabit those reaches and then be able to move freely up and downstream.